So for this tutorial, I am going to be showing you guys two different tools. One will be the clone stamp, which is right over here. And the other one will be how to use a skew, which is transforming your image into the way that you want it. So like the edges and things like that. A student came to me and wanted to create a piano keys and create it into a boardwalk, but she needed to skew the piano key so that it goes from a larger end to a tiny point on the top. So I'm going to show you guys how to do that right now. So I just opened up Photoshop. I have a folder right over here, and I'm going to bring in a picture of a boardwalk. Right now you can see that it needs to be a smart object because this little icon is right over here in the layer panel. In order to do that, you go to Layers, Rasterize, Smart Object. Once you turn into a smart object, you'll notice that this icon has gone away. And now I kind of want to bring this a little bit bigger. So I want to transform this. So I'm going to hit Control T. And I am going to increase this so that it's a little bit bigger. And once you are all done and you want to get rid of the transform, you hit Enter. So once you hit Enter, you've noticed that I already renamed Boardwalk so that I don't even need to rename it in Photoshop. So that's why it's really important to make sure you rename things so that you don't need to do it again. So one of the things that I want to do first is I'm going to teach you guys how to use the skew first. So I'm going to bring in my piano keys. So what I want to do with my piano keys is I want to create it as my boardwalk. So one of the first things that you want to do is hit Enter, and then you'll notice this little smart, it needs to turn into a smart object because this little icon is right here. So we're going to go to Layer, Rasterize, Smart Object, and now I can manipulate whatever I want. I'm going to use the Magic Wand tool. It's very similar with the Quick Selection tool, but I want to show you guys how to use this tool. Go to Magic Wand tool. I select this area that I do not want. So remember, when the marching ants are around it, basically you can delete it because I don't want that part. And you'll notice that, wait, they didn't get this little corner. In order to do that, you want to hold down Shift. And you'll notice now that all my marching ants is around it. So if you hold down Shift, you'll notice this little plus mark comes up next to my Magic Wand tool. And it just means it's going to add more of the selection. So once you have that marching ants all the way around, we're going to hit Backspace. And now it has deleted that portion that I do not want. To get rid of this marching ants, you need to click on Control D. Control D, and now I can move this. So I'm going to go to my Move tool. And so now I really want to add this piano key right on top of my boardwalk so that it looks like my piano keys is the boardwalk. So in order to do that, I'm going to hit Control T for transform. I'm going to bring it down a little bit so that I can see the height. So the height of it is the width of my boardwalk. And then now I am going to use the skew tool. So you want to right click on your mouse. And there's something called skew. So right click on your mouse, hit the skew button. And now you can grab the edges, bring it in, and bring it out so it fits right on top of my boardwalk. And to get rid of this transform, you hit Enter. So now it looks like that I have keyboard as my boardwalk. So now the next tool I want to talk about is this clone stamp tool. I think that this clone stamp tool is probably one of the coolest tools in Photoshop. So once you click on this clone stamp, you'll notice that it looks like very similar to a brush tool. And you want to make sure that you are cloning on the layer that you're cloning. So I want to clone the sky so that it can go all the way up here. I'm going to make sure I'm on the right layer that I want to clone. So the boardwalk layer is where I want to clone. And I want to increase my brush size. And my hardness, I want to keep it soft. So basically I want to use a soft brush instead of a hard brush where I have edges. And also, in order to increase or decrease your brush tool, we can mess with the bracket tools. So the left bracket makes your brush smaller and the right bracket makes your brush bigger. So basically, I just want to copy the sky up here using the clone stamp tool. Make sure you're on the layer, and if you hold down Alt, I'm going to clone about right over here. If I clone right here and come over on top, you'll notice that if I start coloring it, holding down my left clicker, you'll notice this little plus sign is basically it's coloring, well, it's cloning and stamping whatever I am, wherever that positioning is. So if I keep going up, I already stamped it. So here I go. So there's my clouds, but you'll notice that it looks very similar to each other because I just cloned it, I stamped it, and I stamped it. This is where you can use your clone stamp again and kind of I want to clone this area where it has a little bit of light blue. And I think I want to come over here and start kind of coloring it. But look, the edge, you'll notice my plus sign is going down. So I'm kind of cloning that area, but that's not what I want. So I'm going to hit Control Z. I'm just going to hit, I think I want to hit right in the middle then so I can have some room to mess with. And I'm just going to make sure I keep my eye on that plus sign. Oh, I don't want that ocean right there. So I'm going to grab some clouds on this side and I'm going to hold down Alt. I'm going to clone it and then stamp it. So it looks a little bit different. I kind of want to clone this area. Over here, I like this blue. I'm going to hold down Alt, clone it, maybe put some blue up here. I want to clone this area. And basically, you're just kind of coloring wherever you want. But I think that looks pretty good. I want to show you guys one more tool, actually. It's called the Dodge and Burn tool. So let's say I want to burn some part of my sky. We're just going to lightly color the edges a little bit. And burn just means you're going to make it darker. So I'm going to make a little bit darker around my clouds. I don't like this area right here. I have like a little space right over there. So I need to go back to my clone tool, hit Alt, and just cover this area. And now you're pretty much done. If you want to mess with the colors, with the saturation, you just want to be on the specific layer that you want to mess with. So I'm going to play with my piano keys. I'm going to go to my image adjustment. I'm going to go to my curves, and I'm just going to mess with my curves a little bit. So that's pretty much it for this tutorial. So we learned about the clone stamp tool, and we learned about how to use the skew and the dodge and burn.